Make it live. Make it live. It's not live. It's still live.
Asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityurmamritam gamaya asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
A very warm good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, I welcome you all to today's WEBINT, How to Conduct Cost Audit, Creating Right Environment and Framework. The WEBINT is being organized by Committee for Accounting Technicians in association with AAT Board of the Institute. Today in our virtual studio, we have got august presence of CMA Chandrasekhar S. Advadekar as a resource person, and uh, apart from him we have got august presence of CMA P. Raju Iyer, Vice President of the Institute, CMA Chitranjan Chattopadhyay sir, Council Member and Chairman of BFSI Board and Indirect Taxation Committee of the Institute. And apart from him, we are also having august presence of CMA KCH AVSN Murthy. Myself, Varun Joshi, and Ms. Somalika Chakravarti, both officials from Directorate of CAT. Now, I would like to request CMA Chitranjan Chattopadhyay sir to kindly unmute himself and give opening remarks and offer official welcome to CMA Chandrasekhar on behalf of the Council of the Institute. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Respect. And our next speaker today, our main ambassador, program cost of study, Yes, Chandrasekhar, Madam Malika, each VSN Murthy, for that life journal department, chairman of the journal department, chairman of the all chapter, the delight app, like Dr. Murthy, and fellow colleagues, the council, all, and many participants, those who are aspiring for this program. We have got lot of queries from the members, those who have freshly qualified, those who are already in the domain area of the practice regarding this particular how to conduct cost audit. So how to conduct cost audit, this issue was considered by the chairman of the AAT board and CAT, CMA Padmanabhan, and he just from the board, he thought that yes, let us have a series of program on cost audit. And today's theme is creating right environment and framework. I understand that this is one of the great programs for the profession because this is the domain area for us. And I welcome you, sir, special speaker today, for your making time our program. And before we start our program to you, we have got some observation. Being a chairman of the Banking, Financial Insurance Board, cost audit report, this lies with my heart because during my experience in the banks, we have found, and I think the Chandrasekhar sir will also appreciate that cost audit report can be a very important tool for credit appraisal for banks and financial institutions. Although cost study report is not being considered by the banks in that way, because the credit policy of the banks we have not found at least. But nowadays the situation has come when the NPA is generated, the project appraisal has become, project appraisal to some extent has been found to be deficient, and it has been found that the cost study report can play a very good role for any efficient credit appraisal for banks. As you all know, the banks and financial institutions have a systematic credit appraisal methodology, which is being constantly reviewed in the light of the experiences gained from time to time. However, the basic standards for working capital facilities, both fund-based and non-fund-based, and term loan facilities are well understood. Certain basic parameters have evolved over the years in the banking system. If we see the credit appraisal of a bank for any project financing, it involves analysis of the various risks and mitigation thereof. Environment risk, country risk, industry risk, company risk, competition risk, market risk, project risk, product risk, supply risk, funding risk, interest rate risk, currency risk. Analysis of basic financial parameters may be considered as one of the strong pillars for mitigation of credit risk while appraising the credit appraisal of proposal, of course. But the basic financial parameters which form the foundation of the bank's credit appraisal are generally capital gearing, liquidity, net working capital, non-current assets, turnover, profitability, and this profitability has got various parameters that is profit before depreciation, interest, tax, by turnover, raw material and spares consumption by sales, direct input cost by sales, return on average capital employed, return on average operating capital employed, then cash accrual. But you see, while analyzing financial parameters of banks for last financial year, here that bank giving the last financial audit, and generally audited financials and current performance. Apart from that, credit are also based. But apart from statutory auditor's report, that is financial audit, cost auditor reports can also be an effective tool for the bank to appraise credit appraisal of the companies which fall under the purview of audit. As you know, 39 industries are covered, 6 are regulated, 33 are unregulated. And you know, any cost audit report also contains various annexures. From there, for each product group, you can have operating risk analysis. And these operating ratios actually it will help for any appraisal, those who will be doing the appraisal, they will be doing efficiently, because ratio of operating expenses to cost of sales very important for the banks to know, and that will be very, very important to compare year-wise what is the current years, what are the years. And you know, even from the cost rated reports for the company as a whole, we are getting a lot of information about financial performance, ratios, other financial ratios. But so you can, it's very much evident that as a lender, banks and financial institutions, they can analyze more intricately various financial parameters, both product price and the company as a whole. The annexed steps, the cost auditors, cost audit report considered for credit appraisal of a company, which falls under the purview of the cost. Moreover, you know that just there was performance appraisal report, of course. I think this performance appraisal report played a very good, very role. I think that in the cost audit report, whatever annexed there, even the performance appraisal report, if we can have as a when we will be going for any appraisal of the product, this cost audit report can help us to prepare a performance report of the company, and in that case, the various facets of the company will help to analyze the health, this particular project for taking a credit decision, which will ensure a healthy credit delivery mechanism. And I am telling you that capacity analysis, productivity efficiency analysis, utilities, energy efficiency analysis, key cost and contribution analysis, product service profitability analysis, market customer profitability analysis, working capital inventory management analysis, manpower analysis, and applications of management activities. It will all help the bankers to go for a right in a mitigating risk in credit decision, as we have mentioned just now, that how many risks actually banks are fraught with whenever they are going to for a big credit appraisal of a project. So today's program will definitely throw light on how the cost audit you have to conduct, and in what, we as an auditor, we have to put a very very valuable report. We have to prepare a very valuable report so that ultimately it can be useful to the other stakeholders. And I'm sure if the bankers started to use cost audit report, definitely our visibility before the whole financial world in India will increase. And I understand that here our profession will be definitely illuminated through this particular valuable report preparations by the individual cost auditor. We have seen, it's my experience, we have been reported, many of the banks, when their accounts got stressed, they are looking for the reason why the account got stressed. In one of the banks, later on it was found that had they taken care of the cost auditor's report and annexures, and from there if you could analysis whatever I have just mentioned, like capacity utilization, productivity efficiency analysis, lot of analysis it could have been done. Might be this loan or this credit could have been less riskier and it could have been a better asset. So with this, I am just putting some of my observations in today's program, and I am sure that my colleagues, my fellow members, those who are attending this program, they will be definitely find it very much valuable through the navigation of C.S. Chandrasekhar, who happens to be our member and a very renowned cost auditor. Thank you, and let us go for all sort of SOP, maintenance of SOP in this particular pandemic time. I pray to God for everybody's good health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful opening remarks. Now, I would like to invite CMA P. Raju Iyer, sir, Vice President of the Institute, for his special remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Varun Joshi ji. Thank you. Wishing everyone happy, healthy, prosperous, and peaceful days ahead. In this situation, we'll be definitely coming out of this situation. We'll be able to move freely soon. Respected President CMA Msuru Basuji, in his absence here, and CMA Chitranjan Chatterjee, who has just spoke and highlighting all aspects, who is the chairman for BFSI board and Indirect Taxation Committee, and CMA A2Z Murthy, who is known as A2Z Murthy, who is chairman for Region Chapter and Chapter Coordination Committee and the Journal Committee also, and who also conducts lot of program, and who is a practicing member, and who will be highlighting all aspects of how the audit has to be done. And respected eminent resource person CMA S. Chandrasekhar ji, who will be highlighting all aspects how to conduct a cost audit in the present environment and all that. And of course, Varun Joshi and Madam Samalika Chakravarti, and our practicing members and students and budding CMAs. It is especially for the budding CMAs and the students and who are all retired persons also. This program will be useful. How to conduct cost audit, changing right environment and framework. Actually, our speaker will be highlighting also, but to highlight, as highlighted by our chairman Chitranjan Chatterjee, what all the aspects it is in there, but how to prepare the cost audit report. Though it will be there, first to go for the how do we have to get the extract information from our claims, and what all information mainly required and what was the previous report and how it has been linked with the paragraph as he has highlighted. Those linking with the paragraph is very much essential. And what are the things we have to report product wise, what are the products, which code we have to take, whether we have to take the 8-digit code, and if the 8-digit code less than 1% or 2% is there, how to do it. And all those is aspect we have to understand. For example, in some of the companies, though the company's turnover may be 8,000, 9,000 crores, the items coming under cost audit will be maybe 150 crores or 200 crores only, less than 2% of their product. I can give an example also. In ITC, if you take their hotel business and other business, turnover will be very high. But whatever comes under cost audit is little less, only paper board and some other those type of things only coming under the cost audit. Same way, what are the things which should be there? And some companies, all the products will be coming under cost audit. Some under CETA code, customs code, we have to take it. What are the Hsn Code? At the 8 digits, we have to prepare the cost audit report. The company, some companies will say that these two products we are combining and all that, which should not be, we should not take it account. We have to really go for 8-digit code, which is actually Ministry of Corporate Affairs, cost auditing standard board is expecting. That is normal, and which will be our eminent resource person will be highlighting of those aspects today. And in this pandemic situation, how we are doing it? We are unable to go to visit the factory, visit the unit, and this. And in fact, last year also we are unable to visit. So what we are getting is we are getting the statement. From the statement, we are analyzing what are all the aspects, what are the things which has come, whether it is linking with the financial figures and all that. And we are getting the clarification. We are having online meetings and video discussions and all that. And after that, we are able to get, for example, the inventory. Inventory, we have to check some items, at least scrap and what are all the high value items. So what we are doing is we are asking the particular store person go with the video camera to particular space. We are asking him to physically count so that we are able to get convinced that the stock is there, the number of items are there that way. And anyway, when we are going for physical also, we are not checking 100%, which has been already done by the finance auditor. Whatever in the record on a particular day when we are going, we are checking it. So we can do it by asking the particular staff to go with the video camera and check it and then confirm that everything is in order. Same way, in the report, what we are giving is, in the light of the present restrictions in physical movement and visits to the company offices, the company has provided all the data, information, records as required by us for the purpose of conducting the cost audit and using the e-data sharing mode. We also had continuous communication with the audit team and management of the company using various modes of audit, video conferencing, etc. This is what we are saying after this. And again, we have to highlight in the report, the above is in accordance with the advisory on the treatment of various items of cost in the light of COVID-19 pandemic and their presentation disclosed in the Form CRA3 of the company's cost records and audit tools of 2014 relating to the accounting period ending March 31st, 2021 now, issued by the Institute of Cost Accountants India, updated from time to time to the extent relevant and applicable. For information, Institute has come out with the practical advisory in April 22nd. So please go through that guidance and each item, how the treatment of the cost and everything. And in this situation, especially one of the items which we have said, we have to ask the company what are the expenses relating to pandemic, COVID-19, their shutdown cost. In the shutdown cost, we have to distinguish between what is a variable cost, what is a fixed cost. Fixed cost only should go to non-cost item. Where we have to compare what is the present cost with a normal period. So only all the fixed costs of shutdown and the boiler, whatever used, and the depreciation and those of the thing, the shutdown period should go to non-cost item and thrown in the reconciliation statement. Same way, and whatever the other expenses incurred for the pandemic COVID-19 situation, for maybe they will be spending for extra taking precautions, staff, and all those type of expenses also should be identified. Whatever the measures they are taking, they are giving additional allowances to the staff and any medical treatment they are giving. All those things has to be identified and taken to non-cost item. So these are the things which we have to do. And again, in the statement in our report, based on the expenditure provided by the company, we understand that the effect of the shutdown of the operations due to COVID-19 pandemic during the financial year 2020-21 was whatever the amount it is, loss or expenses incurred for the products and services under the audit. The costs pertaining to COVID-19 pandemic are in the nature of abnormal costs, and such costs have been treated as non-cost expenses and disclosed separately as COVID-19 abnormal costs in the profit and profit reconciliation statement in part D2 of the annexure to the cost audit report. So these are all the very much essential, and all the precautions has to be taken, and especially as highlighted by Chittaranjan Chatterjee, you compare the figures of the previous year and the current year with this, so that you will know how the trend is moving, what expenses are going up, what expenses are normal. Some abnormal, the PS production capacity has come down because of shutdown and all that. So what is the capacity relating to this one, and how much cost will be increasing because of the shutdown and all that? All those things has to be identified. So these are all things which we have to look into this present situation. And the normal cost audit report, there won't be much problem. Especially we will be concentrating on allocation of the material cost, labor cost, and other overheads and other expenses to various products. As I said, under the 8-digit code. So under the 8-digit code also, we have to get all the reports and everything. Welcoming our chairman for CAT and AIT committee, CMA Hsn Padmanabhan, who is responsible for this program. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. That's why I am about to complete. So these are the precautions we have to take in this pandemic situation, and we have to ensure that all the statements and reports are in accordance with whatever is required. And whatever the doubts you are having, you get clarification from there, and send the mails and get it. And whatever the video conference you are discussing, online discussion you are having, record it. You record it by your handwriting, or if you are able to get type and keep it in the file, because documentation is very, very important. If any query or anything comes, we should be able to refer to this one. Because next year when we are going to for the same audit, we should be able to refer what are the expenses, what are the queries we have asked because of the pandemic, what has happened. Those things are very much essential. So the documentation, please keep it properly. That is what is required. And other for budding CMAs, our research specialist will be highlighting what are the paragraphs, how we have to go about it, on all those things, and each paragraph, how we have to prepare, and how the capacity utilization is determined. Capacity determination is very difficult. Previously, when central access was there, we used to take the central access, whatever the central access was given, but the capacity might have been increased. So some of the companies, the capacity actual utilization maybe 120%, 130% also, where they are upgrading the machines. All those type of things are there. So by experience, by going with that, you will be able to know this. So in this situation, it will be, we have to do it and take proper care, go into all the details, and especially getting the figures right, comparing with the previous years, and data analytics will be helping you to complete the audit in time and get the answer, all the information. Wishing everyone all the happy and healthy and prosperous and peaceful days ahead. And I'm thanking our guest for taking his valuable time and coming today for addressing our members in highlighting what are the requirements for the cost audit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wish you all the best. Good day. Good day.
Thank you so much, sir, for your vice presidential address. Now, CMA H. Padmanabhan, sir, chairman of Committee for Accounting Technicians, has just joined this program. So with his kind permission, I would like to invite CMA A to Z Murthy, sir, for his address. He is council member and chairman of Journal and Publication Committee and Regional Council and Chapters Coordination Committee. Sir, I request you to kindly unmute yourself and address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
A very, very good evening to all of you. Mr. Vice President Raju Iyer, my colleagues in the council, Mr. Padmanabhan and Chittaranjan Chattopadhyay. You're able to hear me? Yeah. A very, very, and today's most short speaker, Chandrasekhar, CS Chandrasekhar, or CMA, our own member, CMA, CS advocate in my. There are two sections in company law which are fascinating for a cost accountant, 138 and 148. 138, we are competing. I don't say competing or comparing, but we are doing with one more professional, 138. But 148 is our exclusive domain, thanks to company law 2013. Friends, I always say that if while accounting is a bookkeeping is a record, costing is a culture. Costing cannot be learned by bookkeeping. Bookkeeping may be helpful to us to do costing, but costing is a culture. Costing is very important. Costing whether it's budget before the event or cost after the event, both we cannot do without quantitative information. Mere financial information, very incomplete results. If I have got budget with quantity as well as the amount, similarly cost with quantity with rupees, then only I will be able to help more to the costing community or to the nation. I'm extremely happy to be with you today, and thanks for giving me a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. Since chairman committee, okay. Now, may I request Ms. Somalika ji to please introduce today's resource person.
Thank you very much, Varunji. Really honored to be introducer or our chief guest today.
Somalika, you can be little more louder, little more louder.
Hello.
A little more louder.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Our chief guest for today's event is CMA C.S. Avadkar, fellow member of Institute of Cost Accountants of India with over 31 years of experience. He is an insolvency professional, registered valuer and independent director. He has undergone extensive training at IIM Ahmedabad. His passion is teaching, having delivered around 2,000 hours of training on various subjects, including on artificial intelligence in international conference. He has carried out projects of management consultancy in 8 countries in the field of SAP implementation, mergers and acquisition, due diligence and cost management advisory. His areas of specialization include cost audit, performance management, corporate governance, information technology project, turnaround strategic management, including other areas. He had participated at the invitation of International Labour Organization of United Nations for their first research conference at Geneva. His speech on challenges in manufacturing sector in India was broadcasted by All India Radio across India as a part of Make in India initiative, along with the speeches of Chief Minister of Maharashtra and Finance Minister of India, who was then Minister of Commerce and Industries. He is practicing yoga for the last 45 years from the age of 8. He tries to maintain work-life balance by run around 10 kilometers per day. And he is also learning Indian classical music from disciple of Bharat Ratna Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. We are really eager to hear you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Somalika ji, for introducing today's resource person. Now, so may I request CMA H. Padmanabhan sir to, if he likes to offer his remarks, or should we invite resource person for his?
Thank you so much, Varun Joshi bhai. Respected Dr. Murthy sir, Chitoda, and most importantly, our Honorable Vice President P. Raju sir, who has given the presidential address today as the President-elect, I should tell, and practicing cost account. All the 3 of them are practicing. And my very great and very dearest friend, Chandrasekhar S. Adwadkar sir, like Murthy sir told, by birth itself, he has become a CS. CS Adwadkar sir. Then he is a cost accountant, practicing cost accountant with a rich experience. So let us not take much of the time. Already very nicely, Raju sir has explained. Chitoda also has very nicely put it. And Murthy sir is one person who brings innovative way of presenting things, and he will be summing up also today with questions. Any member participating, including budding practicing cost accountant, please put it in the chat box so that our team, Somalika madam, Varun Joshi sir, will help Murthy sir to ask questions at the end of the program. Meanwhile, let us listen to our honorable resource person today. And CS Adwadkar sir is so helpful to us. that even earlier occasion also he has been kind enough to participate in our institute programs. And I remember his association with us when we were members in industry. I was the chairman, he was a part of our team. And so nice of you, Chandrasekhar S. Adwadkar sir, for accepting our request. And we will have some such useful program for the days to come. This is very this thing exclusively for practicing cost accounting. So over to you, Chandrasekhar S. Adwadkar sir. Any help you want with regard to sharing of your PowerPoint or anything, definitely our teammates will be there to help you, sir. Okay. Over to you, Adwadkar sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all of you. Varunji, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Audio quality is good.
Good, good.
Very good.
Okay. So good afternoon to all of you, and I really thank Pappan sir for inviting me to really participate in this session and share my experience. I also thank our Honorable Vice President Raju Iyer sir, Murthy sir, Chittaranjan sir, and also all the participants, my fellow professional colleagues, my young friends who are budding cost accountants or who have just recently started their career. The credit for this course, in addition to Pappan sir, is to also Nagpur chapter of cost accountants, who initially invited me to really start this series on cost audit. So my friend in WRC, Sriram sir, and also the chairman of Nagpur chapter, Anil Verma sir, and the secretary Murthy sir. I thank all of them, and that is how I am here today. And when anybody asks me, who are you? I say I am a CMA, and that, I think, that is sufficient. And across the globe, whenever I have carried out professional assignments on cost management, I represent myself as a CMA. So I'm a proud CMA. Okay. Having said that, somebody may ask me how I am competent to address this session on cost audit. So I am associated with cost audit since 31 years. Right from my first day of working in industry, I was involved in cost audit. So that association has continued. And to say the theme of today's session is basically, over the years when I my experience of conducting cost audit, either from the industry side or now as a cost auditor, or when I discuss with my friends, okay, who are either from industry or practicing cost accountant, many of them face several issues or challenges. And when I discuss with them, and also when I discuss with my friends from the academic background, I also continuously keep on really thinking as to what could be the way to make this cost audit tool more effective, so that we can contribute more efficiently to the Indian economy. Having said that, the theme of this session has emerged, which is based on my experience and something which I have been practicing for last several years. So what I would like to do today is to really create a framework and background as to how cost audit should be conducted, so that it creates a niche area and it creates a value addition, significant value addition for the industry and for the economy as a whole. In trying to do that, I have developed some approach of my own, which I would like to present, which has been helpful to me over the years, not only in conducting the cost audit, but also my management consultancy in the area of cost management. So how we should really position ourselves in terms of CMA and how we can really contribute. So I have developed a clinical approach to the cost audit and cost management, which I would like to present to all of you along with an illustration as to how we can really take this approach forward. And I will be very happy to really explain that over the next 1.5 hours, or if the time permits beyond that. What I have tried to do today is to just cover that aspect without going into the actual conducting of cost audit as to how different paras or different type of requirements should be fulfilled. I am of the firm opinion that if we create right environment and background, okay, cost audit is bound to become the most effective tool in the hands of the industry and the economy. So with that, I will start my presentation. So I'll share the presentation with you.
Yes,
Can
yes,
someone
sir,
tell
any
me
help?
that?
Yeah, yes, we will do the needful, sir. Don't worry.
Yes,
It is coming.
It has come, it has come, it has come. It has come.
It has come, right? Varunji, just help me whether I am clicking one and tell me whether there is no time lag. So can you see the word hypothesis?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I will start my session and deliberation over the subject of how to conduct cost audit, creating right environment and framework. So what I'm going to cover today is in front of you. The first thing I will start is with the hypothesis as to what hypothesis is used to really create this framework for cost audit. Then I will cover the problem statement in terms of what we as cost auditor face when we go and discuss with the management. Then, as I said, that the clinical approach to cost management, which I have developed by discussing with various academicians and based on my experience, that I would like to present to you. Hope that is helpful to you and you can also use that. Then I'm going to take you through a 1-hour challenge of diagnostic test. When I say that I'm following a clinical approach, okay, in clinical approach, the first thing is anyone having a problem, he undergoes a diagnostic test. So when we discuss with the management and they ask us as to what is the value addition of cost management, I challenge them to a 1-hour test that they should undergo. And I'm sure, and that has been my experience, that at the end of the 1-hour diagnostics test, the management realizes where they stand in terms of the cost management practice in their organization and what kind of value addition cost audit and in general and CMS in particular will bring to their industry and their company. Then I will go to the diagnosing the problem as to what is ailing the Indian industry today and how CMS can really play a very important role in addressing that issue and the possible solutions that emerge out of the diagnostic test. And I always feel and I always firmly believe that CMS, from just looking at CMA as a compliance man to a value creator. So that kind of roadmap we should have. And in my opinion, what is the roadmap that we should adopt as a CMA fraternity so that the industry look at us as a value creator. Then I will summarize and conclude my today's session. And as I said already that I am not going into the details of each and every para. Today I am going to cover only creating the framework, because in my opinion, if you do it, then your job becomes very simple. And after that, if anyone has any question, I will be happy to really answer them. So with this, I now start the first part of my deliberation, which is hypothesis. Now, what is hypothesis for cost audit? When I say that how to conduct cost audit, anyone who is faced with this question of how has to answer it for what we are doing. So if we are able to answer for what we are conducting cost audit, then how is automatically answered. Now, as I said, what is forward? Forward is nothing but the objectives that we as auditor and the company as auditee should try to achieve as result of cost audit. So we should be very clear when we have discussion with management and when we arrive at an agreement as to what are the objectives that we are likely to achieve as a part of the cost audit. When the objectives are set and when the objectives are mutually agreed, then our role becomes very simple. The objectives are basically based on the perception of the management as to its utility and value addition. Now, as most of my friends who are cost auditor or those who are in industry who are carrying out the cost audit, I will say that today the industry or the companies who are undergoing cost audit, we can put them into two buckets. First bucket is that the management really understand the utility and value addition of the cost audit. So the companies whose management has that kind of perception will approach the cost audit very differently than the other bucket, where the companies would really say that cost audit is just a compliance and I have to just tick in the box. So I have a compliance metric in my organization, and within that matrix, there is one point of whether the cost audit is completed timely. So if the cost audit is completed and the tick is done, the management is happy, then I would say that management falls under the second bucket. So we have to say that we have to identify under which bucket our client lies. If the bucket under which the management feels that and they are confident about the utility, then the response that you get from the client, not only from the management, but also from all the stakeholders who are involved in the process of cost audit, is quite different. Otherwise, the people who are in the second bucket, then our cost auditors really face is that we have to complete the cost audit within 180 days, but even after 150 days, we don't get the initial records to start our audit. So as I said, how to conduct the cost audit would depend on our client and our client's perception about the utility and value addition of cost audit. So having said that and having understood this, then it becomes our responsibility as professional and our responsibility as cost auditor to set the right perspective and expectations from audit in the minds of management. If we are able to drive the correct perception and expectation about our audit, and if we are able to really convince the management as to what kind of different value proposition that we bring on table and how we are different from others and how we are the only one who can do such activity because we are professionally qualified and because of our knowledge in the area of cost management, I think setting that perception and expectation would be the key and would be the starting point for us, and which in my opinion we should spend considerable amount of time, and also we should give a very detailed and deep thought when we start our engagement as a cost auditor. And once we build a proper perception about our role, then I'm sure how to conduct the cost audit becomes a very simple thing, because the management themselves start expecting good things from us, and then they start really involving us in the entire process of how we can really contribute to the company as such. So having said that, my discussion today would revolve around how we can create a niche for our profession and for our cost audit. Now, having defined the hypothesis, now I would like to spare a few minutes of your time on the problem statement. Now, what is the problem statement is that all of us discuss in different forums, okay, whether it is a WhatsApp group or through email or the different seminars, this problem statement. Now, what is the problem statement is basically, it is based on the feedback which we receive from our clients or prospective clients of cost audit to understand answer to for what we are doing. So the general perception is that we are here only as a doing some kind of compliance. So this I'm saying as a problem statement that we should try to give answer, and we should try to formulate a strategy and our approach and delivery towards cost audit. Now, what are these questions? Now, the first question that all of us hear from the company management, from the industry or other stakeholder is that they keep on asking us as to what is the value addition of cost audit. Now, this is one of the problem statement that I will try to really give answer by my methodology of clinical approach to cost audit. So this question puts us on a very defensive mode as to when somebody asks us as to what is value addition of cost audit. Probably in many cases, our young professionals may not be able to answer that question quite convincingly. So I would like to give them some sort of a direction and some sort of a tool so that they feel more confident about this facing this question. The second problem statement is that it is only a compliance of statutory requirement. One second. So it is only a compliance to, Varunji, are you able to see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it is only a compliance to statutory requirement. So management says that why you are here? The government has unnecessarily put the statutory requirement, how many audits we have to undergo. And this is nothing but a statutory requirement which adds cost to our company. The payment to cost auditor add cost to our company, and also the resources get occupied during the audit period. The third problem statement is that cost audit report is nothing but regrouping of trial balance. This is a general perception which many of the management people have in their mind, that what you are doing differently. So we are not able to answer probably quite effectively to this question also. And another point which is raised, that we know our cost. Why should we need external agency like CMS to tell us as to what is our cost? This is another question. And the last question is about the confidentiality. As that even if we are auditor, even if we are bound by the professional ethics, the client may sometime ask that no, my cost information is very confidential and it becomes very difficult for me to share. Why not you, without product-wise details, you complete your cost audit? So these are some of the challenges, the major challenges which I have listed based on the experience of cost auditors in general. Now I'm posing this question to myself and to my friends who are cost auditor, that do you think that these questions are unreasonable? Now put yourself in the management shoes, okay, and then think about these questions. Probably you will ask the same questions to them, that what is the value addition, because it is their role. What I'm saying is, these questions, whether they are unreasonable, in my opinion, these questions are not unreasonable unless we address them appropriately. So the management asking these questions, in my opinion, is that they are doing their job. We as professionals, we as cost auditors, it is our responsibility to address these questions appropriately so that these questions are removed from the minds of the management, and that is our role. And to do that, for us to address these questions appropriately, we as CMS, we as cost auditors, we need strategy for overall approach to cost audit and to address the problem statement. So this is something which I'm going to address as to how we answer these questions and how we really make sure that the management is brought in a positive framework to approach the audit and get the benefits out of the cost audit exercise. Now, as I said that we need an approach, we need a strategy. Okay. Now, when I said that what could be the strategy, as cost auditor myself, okay, when or not only cost auditor, when I discuss with management, with the managing director, with the chairman, or with the board of director, with the CFOs, these questions often came up during my initial years of practice. People would ask me these questions. And I initially, as many of my young friends, I had no answers at that point of time. But when it happened initially for my 2 or 3 meetings, I started giving it quite a serious thought as to what I should reply. Definitely cost audit, I know that it has a lot of benefits, but I need to translate that. I need to communicate to my prospective clients as to there are significant amount of benefits that only cost audit and CMS can bring. So based on my experience and based on my thought process, I have developed this clinical approach, which I have been using successfully since last almost 19 plus year I am in practice. And this approach has helped me not only in cost audit, this approach has helped me to get international projects on cost management. So not only cost management, in other areas also. So I'm just sharing that my approach as to how I approach any assignment and particularly cost audit. Now, based on my thought process, what I have listed down certain points, and the first point that came to my mind is that self-confidence is the key. How I demonstrate self-confidence when I meet the management, when I meet the prospective clients, is the key which determines my future relationship with them. It is said that your first interaction has a long-lasting impact on the other person, and the first impression, it is very difficult to change. It is not impossible, but it is very difficult to change the first impression. So how can I present myself as a very self-confident guy, okay? And how can I translate that my confidence to my prospective client or to the client? So that is the first part. The second part is that not only I should be confident when I approach the client, when I meet them, when I discuss with them, when I interact with them, when I understand their problem, and when I try to give them solutions, okay, unless I give them some quantitative tools which my client feel that it is based on certain norms, it is based on certain qualitative and quantitative factor which finally he can correlate, and finally he can assess himself on not only 1 or 2 points, but on a list of several points which are important, okay, for the industry leaders. So if I am able to give them a diagnostic test and the results, if I present them with the result, the approach changes dramatically. And this has been my experience. So a diagnostic test is very important for us to really make a very good initial impact, but not only make a good impact on the client, change his mindset, but also to understand different areas where that company really need our assistance and support. So for example, if someone is not well and the doctor advises him to go to a lab and get his blood test done, what we get? We get our test and evaluated on different parameters, like what is our hemoglobin range, okay? Then what is the blood sugar level. So if you really look at that report, it gives a range. It says that what is the normal range for a person of your age, okay, and your sex, and then it says that what is your result. Now, once you look at that test, even a layman who doesn't understand anything about medicine, he understands one thing, whether he is going to live for 100 years or he is going to land in hospital very soon. Now, the cost management clinical approach that I am advocating is basically we carry out a diagnostic test and the result will tell the management and the client as to where he stands. I need not tell him that when I go to doctor taking the my test result, before I go to the doctor, I have realized that what my problem is. So that self-realization is very important. Now my diagnostic test of cost management for my client exactly tells the management where he stands and where he needs to improve. Now this diagnostic test really helps the management in really addressing the concern that he may have about the value addition that a CMA or a cost auditor can bring. Now once you carry out this diagnostic test, okay, I think that would create a right kind of background and framework for you to really start discussing with them, because without that the discussion mostly is one-sided, and mostly the CMAs and the cost auditor are bombarded by different uncomfortable questions to which we may or may not have answer, but we may not be able to face them with confidence. And second thing is that if I have a paper whereby I have diagnosed the company on certain parameters, and when I present them and I tell them that your result shows whether you are critical or you are healthy, okay, that is something which will lead to diagnosing the problem. And then if my diagnosis is correct, if I am able to diagnose the problem, I think the 50% cure is done. A problem well diagnosed is half cure. That's what we have learned in management theory. So I need to diagnose the problem, and the diagnosis is based on the diagnostic test, which is based on the clinical approach. Now, once you diagnose the problem, you can discuss several possible solutions as to how the problem can be resolved, and that solution is company specific based on the industry within which the company operate, based on the other factors about the history of the company, about the system that it has, about the management style, about its customer, about its supply base, about all other internal and external environment factors that are affecting the company. Our solution can be emerged. We, the CMAs, are uniquely placed in industry because our solutions are not specific. We don't go with 100 solution. We have to derive our solution based on the study of that particular company. So it is like a patient having a headache. The reason for headache and the solution, kind of prescription that the doctor will give and the kind of medicine that he will give will be different for each patient, and that's why the doctor is really he is respected. Now we CMAs are like that only. The solutions are many and the solutions are dependent on so many variables that we have to study, and that's why our creativity, our experience and our knowledge plays the most important critical aspect in terms of giving the right solution. If you are able to give the different possible solutions and discuss with the management, then suddenly your value in the eyes of management increases manifold, and that has been my experience. Now, as I said that due to paucity of time, I am going to cover today these 4 aspects, which is going to really create the framework and background. And then subsequently, there are so many aspects like we have to guide the management in the short-term and long-term plan to overcome the problem, and how we can use the cost audit framework to really help the company in resolving its short-term and long-term problems, how we can give good suggestions and recommendation and highlight those to the board of directors, how we really make sure that we become partner in that process. As auditor, we cannot become partner. What I'm saying, partner means we are there to help them. Our role as cost auditor is to make sure that the economy and the Indian companies remain competitive, cost competitiveness. So maintaining cost competitiveness is, in my opinion, is the one of the most important role that the cost auditor has to play. If we play that role of making sure the company with which we are associated is cost competitive, definitely that is going to help the industry, and that is going to help the Indian economy as such in making sure that we become a developed and a very powerful economy as such. And we have to continuously monitor the results. And not only monitor the result, as I said, that the internal and external environment keeps on changing. So we have to continuously revisit our solutions, continuously revisit the problems, and continuously try to give newer and innovative solutions based on the global best practices that the best companies across the globe follow. So this is in short my seniors, my friends and my student friends. This is the clinical approach that you should follow. Now, having said that we have to follow a clinical approach, just telling you that you have to follow this clinical approach is not sufficient, because unless you get something to start with, because I have spent 31 years to develop this approach. Okay, I don't want you to really start from this scratch. So I'm giving you this clinical approach. You can modify it and you can use it based on the client with which you interact. Now, before I go to the specific as to that 1 hour challenge test, diagnostic test that I am recommending to overcome the challenges that Indian companies are really facing but not realizing. It is like you have a diabetes, but you either don't know or you don't acknowledge its deadly effect on your health and long-term sustainability. So in short, many Indian companies are facing the diabetes syndrome, that they are having diabetes, but either they don't know or they don't want to act. So the same problem is with the cost management in many companies, and we as doctor, we have to really make sure that that transformation from a very low level of cost management practices across the Indian companies to a very high level of cost management practices, making sure that we become the catalyst in that change is the most important thing. Now, if we have to become catalyst in this change, then what is important is that our self-confidence is the key. Because unless I am self-confident, okay, nobody is going to come to me for advice. If I don't demonstrate and if I don't pass that confidence to my client, nobody is going to ask me and nobody is going to believe in the solution that I give. So this self-confidence is something which a personal trait, but the personal trait is one aspect. If we are confident and if we have certain tools, then I'm sure that my professional colleagues and my young friends or the budding cost accountants, they feel more confidence about how they are going to really shape their future. So simple question is that if you don't trust yourself or if you don't demonstrate self-confidence, who is going to believe in you? My friends, let me be very honest with you. If you are not confident and if you don't demonstrate that self-confidence, nobody is going to really place confidence on you. So it is important that you become self-confident. Now, having said that, you should be confident is not sufficient. You must realize and you must appreciate that you have several aspects in your favor that will make you self-confident. And what are they? They are our qualification as CMA. And due to our qualification, the knowledge that is given to us, okay, as a part of our course, is something which is very unique, something which is world-class, something which, in my opinion, no other professional course would offer. And we have to believe in it. We have to believe in our qualification and we have to believe in the knowledge that is imparted to us as part of this, part of the journey, okay, of becoming a CMA. So always remember and always say with pride that you are a CMA having great amount of knowledge about the cost management. The second thing, my dear friends, is that there is a concept of mutual need. What is mutual need? When you are approaching your client for any new assignment, or you are going to a client to discuss possibility of you becoming a cost auditor to them, or you are going to them for some kind of management consultancy, you have to remember that unless the other person or the other party equally need you, okay, the relationship cannot prosper or the relationship cannot start. So when you meet them, you have to always remember that not only you need them, they also need you. If we approach our client with a thought process that, oh, this client should give me work and they should appoint me as a cost auditor, I think that's the end of story. If your relationship start on that foundation where only you need the client and the client don't need you, okay, then that kind of scenario is not good to boost your self-confidence, because you will always be on a defensive mode. You will always feel that I am earning and I need this client. So remove that from your mind. Please remember what we can give to the client, nobody else can, and more than you, your client would need your services because of the factors that I'm going to discuss in some time from now. And the third thing is about experience. Now, experience, as I said, it comes with age. Experience comes with you delivering different projects, you working on different types of assignments. Now, experience for my young CMS will not come. So what they should do is that if you really look at again the doctors fraternity, okay, there is a continuous and very positive experience sharing that happens. Look at the COVID scenario. Something which is a new kind of virus strain or new kind of symptom that is coming to light somewhere in the world, immediately the doctor fraternity will share that, their experience as to what they have experienced with this patient. Or the doctors, they will always call their seniors, okay, when there is any complicated surgery or complicated patient they are treating. They will get feedback as to how they were treated, what worked from them, what did not work from them. So in this area, the experienced cost auditors, in my view, plays a very important role of grooming and mentoring the young professionals, and the experience professional is behind you is something which will give your confidence a big boost. And that boost is absolutely essential for the young professionals to establish their career as a practicing CMA or even in the industry. Even in industry, I see our members, they hardly really discuss their problems as to how they can overcome their challenges. So this is something, the knowledge sharing and trusting your seniors and the seniors also giving the right kind of feedback is something which will boost confidence of all of us. Now, having said that, we need to have a strong self-confidence. Now, to have a strong self-confidence as a cost auditor, what we have to do is that we have to change our mindset. That is most important part. Now, what are the typical syndromes that we face, or the typical symptoms that I observed in cost auditors is basically we are very defensive fraternity. We are defensive in terms of addressing the concerns of management. So we should be humble, we should be polite, but we should give to the point answers and not being defensive. So somebody asks you as to what is the value addition, we should very humbly, politely, and with the help of certain examples, we should be able to demonstrate that what kind of value addition that we can bring on table. So we have to do away with a defensive strategy and the mindset. The second question of mindsets change for the cost auditor is basically our inability to create awareness. We are not able to create awareness about the importance of our profession in the minds of the management, because the management asks us as to what is your value addition, and some of the questions that they pose, which I had listed in the problem statement. Now, for example, when you go and discuss with your prospective client, and when you take them through the diagnostic test, in addition to that, you have to communicate that, look, my process is based on the cost accounting standards. We have so many cost accounting standards where our institute has come out with solutions or the approach to various kind of scenarios that are applicable to various kind of industries. So we probably are not communicating that we work on different cost accounting standards. We don't go to them with a printout of all the cost accounting standards with 1,000 this thing and papers and say that, look, these are the cost accounting standard, these are the generally accepted cost accounting principle, these are the guidance note that our institute has published, and my cost audit is within the framework of this guidance note, this generally accepted cost accounting principle and the cost accounting standard. And this has not come from this time. These are based on our existence. My institute is in existence since so many years, and my institute has so many international association, and my members are doing so great things. And based on their experience and based on our experience of how the cost management principles are applicable to industry, Indian industry, these standards have come into existence. And if you tell them that this is what I'm going to follow, and by telling them that since these are the standard that will be applicable to your company, they will realize that this is a very methodical and systemic approach that you as a cost auditor are following. And once they realize that it is a methodical and systemic approach that you are following, they obviously know, as they are industrialists, they are big leaders, they are thought leaders in their own field, that look, something where I can improve based on the global standards and the best practices definitely going to help me. So we have to create that kind of awareness in the minds of our clients. The third thing that I observed in terms of our mindset is that in many cases, we lack the industry specific knowledge. What we need to do when we approach any meeting, we need to study as to what kind of industry is this, what kind of benchmarks are there for that industry, what kind of processes are followed in that industry, what kind of innovations are taking place in that industry. If you really spend 10 hours, 15 hours to study that industry before your first meeting, and then when you go with that kind of knowledge and meet that industry leader then is aware that you are talking their language. As long as you talk their language, okay, they will not understand it. It's like they are speaking in English and you are talking in some other foreign language which they don't understand. So we have to really make sure that we talk the same language, and that we talking the same language is dependent on what kind of industry specific knowledge that we have acquired over the years, or we have made some efforts before our meeting to acquire that knowledge. The fourth point that I would like you to consider is basically we should become specialist rather than generalist in the field of cost audit. Now, what is happening is that we as CMS, okay, we have n number of opportunities. We can do GST, we can do system implementation, we can do insolvency, we can do valuation. There are so many fields that are available for our profession. That is my belief, because I never face challenge in terms of getting work, and I always feel that my institute has given me so much that it is keeping me busy for 24 hours a day. But in that process, what I have come to a conclusion is basically, whatever area you are operating, you become a specialist in that. Unless you are specialist, unless you carry the best knowledge, okay, you are not respected. Because when you go and discuss with somebody, and that another gentleman also has some kind of knowledge, and unless you understand that your knowledge is slightly better or far better than him, okay, then he start taking advice from you. So we need to be specialist in any area that we do. We should not be generalist in all areas and not specialist. And since cost audit is our domain, cost audit is our core area, we should be expert in all these CS, GS, CCP, and the guidance note, and what is happening across the globe, what the best cost managed companies are doing, what new challenges they are facing, how they overcome those challenges. whether we read the Harvard Business Review, whether we go to the Wharton Business School, whether we go to different sites and study as to how they are doing on the cost management, we cannot become specialists. So are we spending minimum 10 hours a week to become specialist in cost management? That's a question which I would request all of you to ask yourself, and if you say no, then please start spending at least 10 hours on really sharpening your axe. The next is that we make an entry in the company at a very late stage. Because if we have studied, and all of us have studied the life cycle of a product, all of us will agree that almost 70% of the cost that the company spend during the life cycle of any product or in the life cycle of any customer is committed at the initial stage, at the development stage. Subsequently, at the production stage or at the distribution stage, the cost is incurred because certain policy decision or certain strategic decisions were taken initially. And if you realize that our entry in the company is at a very end stage where the company's product has started manufacturing or the company has started providing service, and then that is the stage where we can hardly make any impact on the overall cost structure of the company. So what is important is that if we create a good niche for ourselves, then our entry should be at a point when the company management start discussing about setting up a new company or starting a new product line or investment in a new plant. So how many of us are really invited by the company management, okay, for their advice? I am sure that all of you will agree that in case a new plant is to be set up, or in case a new factory or a new company has to be set up, then every company management will call their tax advisor to make sure that the structure of the tax is established right. They evaluate all this. So why that doesn't happen with us? In fact, we are the one who can make maximum contribution to make sure that the long-term sustainability of business is ensured at the time of the initial stage when the decisions are taken. So our role of really coming into the play at a very late stage when we can really make a very less impact, to making sure that we make an entry and we are asked for our opinion and advice when the management start taking strategic decisions. And I'm telling you based on my advice that many of my clients are of that nature where they consult me on every cost management initiative that take, including strategic management, including starting a new plant or merger and acquisition and other aspects. So what I'm saying is that it is not at all difficult. That is the real management consultancy that's CMA that you can do. But for that, you have to make sure that you position yourself, okay, in such a way that the management will think of you, of calling you for your advice and your opinion as they call the tax advisor and tax consultant. So we have to make sure that our entry start at an initial stage. And if we do all this, then our focus will definitely shift from the compliance point of view to a value creation, and how we CMS can become a value creator from being looked at as a compliance man, okay, is something which is in our hand and for which I have given my strategy in the subsequent slide. So what friends I'm saying is all of you are with me. Varunji, you are with me?
Yes, sir.
And am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, and the presentation is also seen correctly, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, so I will move to the next slide. So what I'm saying is that it is not sufficient that we change our mindset. It is important that we should make sure that my client's mindset also change. Because as I said, there is a mutual need. As I said, that communication cannot be one way. The communication has to be two-way. And for the communication to become two-way, not only I change myself, I make sure that I help my client also to change his mindset. Now, what are the important challenges that we have to make sure that we change the mindset of, or make a part of that transition? So the first point is basically the client would normally tell you that cost is very confidential. Now I hear this. I am hearing this for last 31 plus years, that the client says that no, cost is confidential, and I am not able to share this with you, even if you are auditor, or I will share only limited information. Now this cost being confidential is a thing of past. There is nothing confidential as such. Everything is so transparent, anyone can make out what is the cost of, in the information technology era, really trying to understand what could be the cost of any product or any business is not that difficult. And it is a question of transparency, because those who say that the cost is confidential, they maintain so much of confidentiality that even those who are involved in the decision making within their organization, not entire information is shared, and what happens is that it makes a big impact on the quality of decision making. So we have to really break this myth that cost is confidential. It is no longer a confidential thing, and plus you can build a caveat saying that being you are a member of a professional institute and you are being appointed as a cost auditor, okay, you are bound by professional ethics. We as professional members of our institute are bound by the highest level of professional integrity and values and confidentiality. So we'll have to really make sure that our client understand it. The second part is that from the industry point of view, the most people believe that they can manage cost. They feel that why I need an external person, or why I need input from you, or why I need your perspective as to how to manage cost. So this is something which you need to really communicate to them, as to not all things you can manage. You have to tell them that, look, for every field there is an expert. Now you can tell them that suppose someone is facing a neurological problem, okay, and then when he is facing a neurological problem, to whom he will go? He will definitely go to a neurologist. He will not go to a skin specialist. So we have to tell them that in terms of the cost management and in terms of managing the bottom line, we are the people, we are the neurological expert, and nobody can. Many people may say that they are expert in cost management, but nobody has the expert knowledge that we are being imparted as part of our curriculum and our exposure to different industry practices, that we can really give you the best suggestion and solution. So we have to break this mindset issue. The third point I have already covered, that people refuse to rope in expert in the cost management, because what they feel is that basically if you go and talk to any person in the company, they will say that, look, in my company, everybody understands cost. And they will try to say that, no, what different, my engineering guy understands cost better. My quality control guy knows cost better. So really understanding that cost management and building the cost management practices is not such a simple thing. It is a quite complex process. Nobody will understand quite simply, okay, how the different overhead have to be allocated. Nobody will understand as to how the different factors, qualitative and quantitative factors, should be considered while taking decision. Even if the cost is incurred, we can say that this is a fixed cost, or this is a committed cost, okay, or this is a sunk cost, and that should not be considered for decision making. So such kind of application of our knowledge, people don't understand because they are not aware about it. So let us make them aware about the complexity of the entire cost management structure and the process of cost audit. Only then they will realize that finally what they get out of the system is very important, or is really accurate. And as I always say in my deliberation and in my discussion, is that there are three important characteristics of cost that the company should evaluate, and that has come in my the diagnostic test also, but which I am repeating here. because it is relevant at this point of time. That is that relevant, reliable and timely information is the key for good decision making. So relevant, reliable and timely. So you should ask the client whether you get a relevant information, whether the information is reliable, whether you trust it, and whether you get it timely. So if these three characteristics are really linked to the cost management information, then they start realizing then probably that no, I'm not really good at it. So I'll discuss it in slightly more detail as we go forward. The other thing is you will always see that the management or the companies follow a more reactive approach to cost management rather than a proactive approach. What is a reactive? When the economy is down, when the demand is low, when the sales is low, when the profitability low, they suddenly say, oh, everywhere everybody has to reduce 10% of their cost, blanket cost reduction without even realizing that the variable cost cannot be reduced 10% immediately. The fixed cost also cannot be reduced immediately. So cost management cannot work on a reactive mode. It has to be a proactive mode. It has to be a consistent effort of identifying how you can bring down your variable cost. Bringing down variable cost is a very complex process. And bringing down fixed cost is something where only if we are involved at the time of the capacity creation, because the fixed cost is associated with the capacity that the organization has created. Only then the fixed cost can be reduced. So what else you can do as a reactive mechanism? Nothing. So people just probably remove employees who may be really good from the long-term point of view. So these are several things that are really useful to change mindset of our client. And since as we say that every company will discuss the importance of cost management, every company will say that, oh, cost is something which is very important in decision making. But when it comes to actually implementing it, cost management becomes the last priority. And in most companies, it never sees the day of light. And that's why when you go there as a cost auditor, it becomes a tick in the box kind of concept. So what I am proposing is that make a transition, try to convert your clients who are interested in tick in the box to something where they seek our active opinion and role in building a very high level of cost management maturity index in their organization, which is the only way, in my opinion, which will help the company in the long term to survive, to sustain. There may be few companies who may survive, sustain because of their unique position, but not all companies. So we need to make sure that we change our mindset. We also need to make sure that we help our client to change their mindset. And again, when we say that changing the mindset, this is something which a doctor do. We will continuously counsel you, tell you positives and negatives so that you are properly motivated. So even after that doctor motivating us, we know that how many of us or how many of the total population gets motivated and change. But even if you can make that transition for 50% of the clients, I think that change is quite important. In Corona, as we said, that the herd immunity will start developing after 50-60%. So if we are collectively able to transition 50% of people, then the I would say in terms of the COVID herd immunity, the Indian economy and the Indian company will start their journey to becoming world leaders in the cost competitiveness and offering the best products. So we become the catalyst in that transition. Now, as I said that, having said that the clinical approach is something which is useful, having said that the mindset change is important, now I want to give you a very specific diagnostic test that I use for cost management with my clients and which has helped me tremendously. What I have done is that I have framed around 50 questions, which I typically do with my clients, as and when there is an opportunity to really identify areas, okay, as to where that company stand, and which gives them a self-realization as to what kind of changes and improvement that they can bring. So let us go to this 1 hour challenge. So I challenge them. I say that, look, you take a diagnostic test. If you are asking me a question as to what is the value addition of cost audit, what is the value addition of CMA, I challenge you, take 1 hour of your time and undergo a diagnostic test with me. And at the end of the 1 hour, in 99% of the cases, okay, the client will never ask you these questions again. Such diagnostic tests help you to tackle clients' overconfidence, I would say, their unwillingness and their skepticism. It will, as I said, 1 hour diagnostic test, and at the end of the 1 hour, not only your self-confidence will be boosted, but also the self-realization will come to the client. Okay. Now, this is a diagnostic test. As I said, there are 50 questions that I have listed. And I have broken them under different subgroups. Okay, so typically what I would do is that as the doctor will start, I will start understanding symptoms of my clients or symptoms of my prospective client by asking them these 6 questions to understand. And these 6 questions really help me within first 5 to 10 minutes to understand where this company stand, what is the future of this company. Like the doctor, by asking initial question, he will really assess you in his mind as to where you stand as a patient. So similarly, you will come to yourself initial, what I would say, your conclusion or your initial assessment, not conclusion, your initial assessment as to where this company stand. So what is done is that there is a scoring criteria. Now you have to be honest with them as to how you are scoring, and that scoring has to be very simple. So for example, symptoms, I have categorized them into always, sometimes and never. If you ask them a question where they have to give a descriptive information, probably it becomes difficult. You may not be able to cover that. So the ground rule for conducting this diagnostic test is you have to keep it very simple. Second thing is you don't challenge their answer, because if you start challenging, they start becoming defensive, and then you are not relied on. So just make it very simple. So first question that I will ask is that whether you feel comfortable or whether you feel uncomfortable, low confidence while taking decision that you do not believe, don't get cost related information. As we said that the decision making, quality of decision making and the success of decision making are the most important things to make sure that the management survive. And the management decisions are the most crucial because they have a long lasting impact on the organization. So when I ask them a question that are you uncomfortable, feeling low confidence when you take decision, if he say that I always feel uncomfortable, I always feel low confidence while taking decision based on cost data that I get, okay, then obviously the client will get 0 marks. Then you know that the management itself doesn't believe in the cost management and the costing system that the organization has. If you feel that no, sometimes I feel comfortable when the information is coming for this kind of decision, or when the information is given by XYZ person, I feel sometimes confident, you give 1. And if you say that I never feel uncomfortable, I always feel confident, then you say, okay, 2 out of 2, 2 marks are assigned and he will get 2 marks. So the second question is that whether the team always disputes. So when you go to a client for discussion or based on your interaction with client, we always see when there are meetings on cost management within the organization, one person is from production, one person is from finance, one person is from the project. Okay, when they start discussing the cost aspect or profitability aspect, they themselves are not clear. They themselves fight among each other, and they're meeting and with a conclusion that let us meet next time when all of us agree on these numbers. Now, this is a very clear symptom that the organization, okay, we need a very strong dose of cost management. So accordingly, you will, based on the response from the management, you will give marking. The third symptom is that you have to look at very high unutilized capacity for a long time. Now, this high unutilized capacity is also a symptom that the management decision making for the fixed capital investment or expansion, introducing new products, somewhere there is a problem. When you see that there is a continuous unutilized capacity, that means you, in your mind, you know that the decision making is somewhat questionable and it can be improved. The next question that you should ask is, are you losing orders due to high prices or not meeting customer expectation? So whenever the management is meeting its marketing team, if the marketing team is continuously telling that they are not able to really meet their sales target because my costs are very high, I cannot compete with other players, okay, the customer is saying that I need a reduction in the price, then you know that the cost structure of that organization is somewhat skewed, and it needs to, the cost structure needs to be reviewed. Because the customer expectation or the competitors' response is a pointer that the cost management and the cost structure of the organization is not competitive. Now, this is the area where you can play an important role. The next thing I have already said that the cost structure is skewed or not, that you have to analyze, and also you have to understand whether they face cash flow issues frequently. If the company is continuously facing cash flow issues, that means the organization has to do a lot of things on the cost management front. So having discussed the symptoms for first 5 to 10 minutes, you come to know as to where you stand. You come to know as to what kind of contribution that you can make to this organization, and then you can really frame your strategy in terms of how you word your sentences, how you really position yourself, everything. So these 10 minutes are for your initial assessment. As you move forward to the diagnostic test, in my opinion, having a cost management policy in the organization is very important. Like the first question I will ask is that, does the company acknowledge that cost is important in decision making criteria? Because unless there is a realization that cost is important, you hardly can do any impact. But I'm sure that 100% of the cases the management will agree that cost is very important for them to decision making. Then you move to the next question and say that whether the company acknowledge that the quality of decision making impact the sustainable profitable growth of the company. They also will acknowledge that yes, the quality of decision making is dependent on the future profitability of the company is dependent on decision making. Then you ask this question, which I have already discussed, that whether you get a reliable, timely and relevant cost information of the factor which affect the decision making. That also will give you some clues. Then you ask them a question whether they have a cost management policy in place. If they don't have a cost management policy in place, then how they will approach different aspects of decision making, how they will, whether their policy is defined as to how decisions should be taken, how the cost information should be compiled, who is supposed to take that decision, who is supposed to really compile that information. All that is a part of cost management policy. As you have seen in every company, there is a quality management policy, there is a production best production practices, there is an accounting policy. So for every function, you will see that a good company will have a policy for that function. But what I'm saying is that unless you have a cost management policy, the decision making is always going to have a very negative impact. No cost management policy, then decisions are taken by hunch and not based on a very solid, reliable cost information. So not only having a cost management policy is important, you must ask them whether the policy get revised based on the changes in business environment. It is not that 10 years back somebody has made a cost management policy and nobody reads them. So changes to cost management policy as per changes in the business environment is very important. So you have to note them and give marks based on the policy framework, because unless there is a policy framework, okay, the cost audit framework cannot work, and as a cost CMS, you cannot add much value. So your role would be to really make sure that the organization understand this and start framing the policy, and then in that process, then you start becoming their guide and mentor. The next is the MIS, monthly information system or management information system. When you ask them, they will say, no, I have the best kind of financial statement which are presented to me on a monthly basis. But you ask them whether you review product-wise, segment-wise, customer-wise trend of cost and profitability on the monthly basis. Whether you get a multi-dimensional view of business in your MIS. Whether that the multi-dimensional view is reconciled with your financial statement. And are you satisfied with the cost-based monthly MIS that you are getting? Now, these are the questions, in my view, are most important, because these are the questions which will really make them realize what the cost audit framework gives to them. What the cost audit framework gives exactly this, they help management, okay, to really review the information not only as a legal entity, not only looking at the financial statement saying that the material cost was 51% last time and this time it has become 49%. So I have done a good job, reduction of 2%. But unless that 2% reduction which is reflected in the financial statement is backed up by the product segment and customer wise trend, and the management understand, oh, because of the change in the product mix, because of the change in the segment, because of the change in the customer mix, or because of the increase in the selling prices, or because of the efforts that I have made to reduce the cost, the result is this. Unless there is a validation, okay, and that validation can be provided only by the cost management system. And that's what I have seen that the management really need. But today, in many cases, the management review may be happening based on the totality on a legal entity level. But that legal entity level is, yes, very important for external stakeholders like the shareholders, the bankers, as the company on a legal entity level is doing good or not. But for the management, whose real role is to make sure that the organization remains profitable, sustainable, and remains on a growth path, they need to have all this information on which they have a comfort, they have a confidence. And only the cost audit framework, which is implemented in right earnest and with all the points that I am suggesting, will lead to this. So this is something which is the most important, I would say, change that we can bring in the area of the management, overall corporate governance of the Indian economy. I'm moving to the next slide because it is 5:45. So Varunji, how much more time is available to me?
Sir, you may carry on, please.
Okay. So the next point is, the sub point is basically cost management tools and techniques used. So once I realize the symptoms, once I realize the MIS, once I realize the policy framework of cost management, then I will lead the management towards the cost management tools and techniques used in their company. So I have certain 13 questions which are framed for them. I will ask them whether your cost management is proactive. I will ask them whether you set the cost standards for performance management. I will ask them a question whether the standards which are set are reviewed by persons having knowledge and who are expert in this area, or are they set by somebody, okay, who has no knowledge. So even if you are setting cost standards but for performance management, if those standards are set by somebody who is having no knowledge or expertise, those standards, in my opinion, will mislead you. So who are the people who can really help you? Of course, CMAs are the people who can help you in setting the right standards, and also in terms of revising those standards. So it is not only you set standards and forget about it. You had, based on the changes in the business scenario, you have to continuously revise those standards periodically, and you have to bring in effective control on changes in standard. I cannot change standards without I have control as to how those standards are built. So who are the people who are experts? You don't have expertise in house. We are CMS who are experts in that, and I can tell you that I have implemented several projects on the performance management of the company using this diagnostic test, because the management had understood that they lack all this, and CMS can help them. Then then you should ask them whether they carry out a variance analysis on a monthly basis, or they just look at the variance in terms of the employee cost was 10%, now it has become 9.8%. No, that is not a corporate governance in my view. Unless you go into detail that, look, my efficiency was better last time, or there was idle time, or there was something process improvement that I carried out, which has led to this improvement in my employee cost structure. Only such type of analysis is carried out. If it is carried out, then you can say that the management is doing its right practice of corporate governance. Otherwise, if you say that, oh, 20%, 90%, 19%, oh, 1% variation is acceptable. So in my view, people setting this variation benchmark or acceptance or tolerance level is something very dangerous. So variance analysis has to be there on a monthly basis. Who is expert in variance analysis? Who can carry out the price variance, mix variance, quantity variance, usage variance, the efficiency variance? Of course, CMS are the only one who can do that. So you have to help them to make sure that the variance analysis tools and techniques are used in an organization, and you make sure that that becomes a part of their DNA. Is that monthly analysis. So if that kind of framework is built, then I'm sure that the management will not ask for the monthly profit and loss account. They will ask for the multi-dimensional profit and loss account backed up by the variance analysis, because that's the only thing which will lead to the point number 8, which is taking corrective action of elimination and reduction in variance. That is the only thing which really helps them to make sure that they set the right standard, and the standards have to be set considering the industry and the competitors. Only then they get some triggers as to where can I improve, where can I become better, how can I compete better, how can I make available the best products at the lowest available prices, how can I make the best value addition to my client. All that will happen only if you have the best cost management practices and benchmarks and variance analysis is in place. Then you ask them as to how they identify the non-value added activities, whether there is a continuous process or whether they are only reactive. Then you ask them whether they carry out certain cost rationalization and reduction initiative as a part of their routine process, whether everybody in the organization is involved or only it is done by a group of people. Cost management is not something which is done by few people. Cost management has to be there done by every person in the organization, and that is the impact of the CMS, because they touch each and every aspect of the business, whether it is a manufacturing industry, service industry, or not-for-profit organization. So having done these cost management tools and techniques, then you move to the decision making. You ask them as to how you take decisions. Do you have a hierarchy for review of decision making involving cost? Or somebody XYZ is preparing and it is coming directly to you, or you have built hierarchy that based on the expertise of the person, somebody is preparing, somebody is reviewing, and the expertise of reviewer is higher and higher, because only then the decisions are going to be better and better. Whether you have built capacity enhancement related decisions, okay, on the basis of cost management, whether the non-quantitative factors are considered in cost management, whether the relevant costs are considered, identified and used. So all that you try to really judge the quality of decision making of the organization, because these are the quality of decision making also lead to identification of many areas, okay, not as a cost auditor, but as a management consultant or as a CMA in your practice. Then you ask them as to what you are doing with training of employees, because the employees has to undergo training on the latest techniques of cost management. I will ask them a question as to if you are really buying a new machine from Germany, will you not send a person who is going to operate that to Germany for 6 months and get trained? will you not spend that kind of amount? And here you are talking about, say, spending, say, buying a machine worth, say, 20 crore. Now the person who are taking decisions based on cost management, are you evaluating whether these gentlemen are sent for training to get the latest techniques of cost management, or these people carry the old technology or old knowledge that may not be relevant for today's decision making? And you are saying that no, I don't want to send a person for training in the cost management. How is that going to help? My simple question to them is that they are the people who are going to make the biggest impact in terms of your future. So you have to make sure that these people undergo training, and they also, you have to have a mechanism to test internally what is their knowledge level, who take the cost-based decision making, and periodically review them from the external people like the CMS who are experts, so that their cost management practice remains at a very high level. So having said that, my last slide on how the diagnostic test should be carried out is that I talk with them about the systems, about the cost ownership, and about the compliance. So about the systems, we know that it is driven by the IT. So whether they have an integrated ERP system covering all areas of operation, whether cost management module is implemented, whether cost management module implemented is used regularly, whether the cost management model is capable of identification of variance, whether the variance is calculated and tracked, whether the reports from ERP system are modified in Excel and then given to management, or it comes directly from the system. So all these questions and their answer lead to a lot of ideas in terms of what are the improvement areas for that company. And the next is the cost ownership. Whether the company has assigned ownership of cost of each element to individuals, whether the company has introduced a cost-based, performance-based incentive for effective cost management, whether the stakeholders like customer, supplier are also trained on cost management, whether the stakeholders are not trained and using the cost management, whether the company take initiative to make them part of cost management. So these are some of the questions that are very important, because unless somebody is taking ownership, okay, nothing is going to work. It is like the famous circle of performance management, that unless the management tracks something and unless the employees understand that the management tracks something, the improvement doesn't happen, and unless the improvement happens, the management don't really reward them, and unless the management reward them, the employees don't feel motivated. So this is a circle. So we have to make sure that the management understand this circle of performance management, and they become part of that change process. And finally, the compliance. I have kept that compliance because always we are asked that you are come from only compliance point of view. So I tell them that out of 100 marks that you will get, compliance is only 12. So on compliance, whether the cost accounting standards, GSEAP and the guidance notes are followed, whether the company is using above in the management practice routinely, whether the company has complied with all the requirements of our audit rules, whether the cost accounting records are reconciled and integrated with GST records, whether the cost accounting records are reconciled and integrated with transfer pricing requirement, and whether they are aware that the cost audit report is part of the income tax, the tax audit and the GST audit assessment. So once you ask them all this and carry out their diagnostic test, I'm sure then when they get certain marks, which as a sample I have exhibited in the next 3 slides. So the last 3 slides remain the same, only based on my interaction with the management. In the last 2 columns, I have marked their answers and also given score based on their marking. And for each point, we start giving the marks. And then finally, you come to a really summary as to this company has scored 39 out of 100 on the cost management. So, you know, after you present this to the management, after that 1 hour of diagnostic test, I have not seen a management asking you as to what kind of value addition that you will bring, because that self-realization has come to them that, oh, They were saying that, oh, they have the best cost management practices. They were saying that they don't need external support. They were the saying who were asking you so many questions. Now, based on this, okay, without you challenging them, they have realized where they lack. They understood what we are trying to bring on table. They understood that these are the areas where CMS can make a big impact. They understand that this is the area which can make the biggest impact on their company in terms of their profitable growth and their sustainable future of the company. So after that, what happens is that once the problem diagnosis is happen, then you can give them this I called as a CMMI, is the cost management maturity index. Is that somebody who has scored below 35, he is at 0, 35 to 51. So there is a ranking. So based on this ranking, you know that what kind of company you are dealing with. So your approach and your solution and the kind of problem those company faces are quite different, depending on the CMMI of each company. So you have to have solution for each type of company. So a company which is having more than 95% of the CMMI probably will have the best cost management practices, and where your knowledge has to be expert because you know that this company is following the best practices. So you have to be better than that. And if you are better than this company with CMMI 5, then you can advise any company who is having CMMI score of 0 to 4. And this builds your confidence. So this is something which you should do. And this is something which is going to help you to really develop the right kind of background and framework where you can start the cost audit. Now, if you do this, then I'm sure the management will look at it quite differently. The management will give you right kind of information. The management will give you right kind of support. The management will invite you for their quarterly audit committee meeting to tell that what is your view as an expert in cost management. And then once you have done that, then what happens is that the way in which you carry out the cost audit will be completely different. If the management has not understood, then you will just tick in the box kind of cost audit. If you take your client through all this, the management will expect so many things from you because the management are interested in making sure the big positive impact. And then once they realize that, oh, the CMAs are expert and the best suited to do all this transformation of my organization, okay, then what happens is that your role is something which becomes, as I said, that you find yourself on an equal pedestal with the management. Till such time you are defensive, till such time you feel that you are the only one who needs the client. But having taken the management through this 1 hour diagnostic test and discussing the end result and giving him his CMMI score, okay, suddenly you and the management in terms of discussion, you are on this equal footing, and unless there is an equal footing, okay, you cannot contribute. That has been my personal experience. So that is the point, you can start bringing a lot of significant value addition, and that is the time your advice will be sought by the management, okay, all the time. Not only when the cost audit is there, whatever decision, significant decision they take, they will realize that, oh, I need to bring him and update him and ask him whether they are doing right. Okay, so this will create a very positive and conducive environment to conduct the cost audit. So this is what I had set the agenda for today's discussion in terms of how we should create the right framework. And as I said, is all that we can do. And this is what I said, that from a merely from a compliance person who is coming for compliance, we become their partner, we become value creator. So I will share this slide, you can go through, or if there is another opportunity, what I am doing with the Nagpur chapter is I am going to conducting a series of sessions for them on cost audit. So this first session I had conducted on similar line. The second session I am going to conduct for them is that I am taking them through through the individual cost element and individual part of the entire cost audit process as to how this transition we have to make sure, and how the cost audit reports become a very powerful tool which is always sought after by the management. So to summarize and to conclude, all of us know this gentleman on the left side who has recently won the French Open. I would request all of you to read his story, because that is similar to what we are facing. He was diagnosed with certain problem initially in the year 2010-11, when he was not even known, when he was always having a health issue, when people had written him off that he is having asthma, and he always used to take medical breaks during the match, and having not won any Grand Slam, to today becoming the world #1. What has transformed him? That story is very interesting, and that you can correlate with our CMA, what transformation we can make to the Indian companies and Indian economy. Okay, so we have to change the mindset approach to our cost management. We have to make it more professional, cost competitive, and that is how we can bring this change. And I think we have already started that process of change. So with this, I conclude my today's session, and I now give it to Varunji for further deliberation. And I thank all of you for your attendance, 279 big attendance, and all the seniors, all the council members, the vice president of the institute, and council member of Papan sir, Murthy sir, and Chittaranjan sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for very well curated presentation. So I would now like to again request CMA A to Z Murthy sir for taking the question and answers and summing up as per the schedule. Over to you, sir.
Again, good evening to all of you. A big thanks to Mr. Chandrasekhar.
Thank you, sir.
You really made the cost audit very approachable to all the youngsters. You removed the fear among the minds of the people that are we competent? Yes, we are competent. We are the only people competent. That's what you told us. And before thanking you and summing a few, I will take a question. You have got many number of questions, Mr. Chandrasekhar. To start with, CMA Akhilesh Puchar, an auditee unit manufactures more than 200-300 different products as per 8-digit Hsn codes. How do we select the products for the purpose of cost sheet as per para B2?
Sir, in my view, the rules are very clear that once the product is covered, once the industry in the cost audit, once it crosses that threshold, then all the products are covered under cost audit. What I have seen is that if there are 200, 300 products, and if say for example 5 or 6 product contributes say 99% of the total revenue of the company, and then covering other 195 for 5%, okay, I think it's a call of the management and the cost auditor to really say that whether they want to disclose all 200 in the cost sheet, or they can give a cost accounting policy whereby they can disclose that, saying that why they have disclosed only 5 which contribute 99%, and they have to make sure that they give a note that as per the requirement of cost accounting record rules, they have maintained all the cost sheet. Okay, so probably that approach is also followed by many professionals, but depending on auditor and auditee, you can select either of the approach, where we always go by the principle that the cost of costing should not be more than the benefits that you get out of it. So I think that's a call you have to take as long as you are compliant. Okay, giving unnecessary information of 195 product, having not contributing any business, because it may sometimes what happens, it becomes a very for the product, there is a customer who want a particular product, and the company is doing is to maintain that customer. So it's a that's what approach I would say, that you disclose it whenever you are in doubt. Disclose, and that disclosure is most important in my opinion.
Okay. Same gentleman asks one more question. All fixed costs are impacted due to reduced capacity utilization due to COVID-19.
Yes.
Specifically, your take on what are the elements of cost that should be considered as non-cost due to COVID?
Yeah. So my take on this is basically once we really analyze as to what were the important fixed cost associated which the company has incurred and where there was no activity. So for example, if due to COVID lockdown, say there was a closure of 45 days. So you will what I have done is that I have had a 2-hour discussion with the company in terms of identifying what you could have saved, okay, if you had an option. So for example, the employee cost, okay, the employee in the manufacturing, the cost will continue to get incurred. So this is something which is the fixed cost associated with COVID, because the employees could not work. But there also you have to make a distinction that, for example, the administrative staff was working, the finance people were working, the IT people were working. So you have to segregate by function and say that the production related activity was affected, and that's why the employee cost of production you can take as a COVID related cost. Similarly, the depreciation cost or the other fixed cost, which may be mostly the rent. For example, if the company is operating through a rental premises. So my take is identify only 3 or 4 major elements like the production related employee cost, the depreciation, the rent, and few other things. Don't go into too much of calculation. Again, I stick to that principle, cost of costing.
Okay. Now, one more third question is from a CMA who did not reveal his name. The question is whether cost accountants, cost auditor is to visit all the cost centers of the company if location is in the multi-state.
Sir, basically, if we really look at the format of our cost audit report, there is one particular line which says that whether the auditor has received all the information from the branches or location not visited by him. So our rule itself provides that you need not visit all the places. The approach that I would recommend is that again 80-20 rule is that the majority of the products falling under the cost audit purview, you should visit that. But during the COVID, obviously nobody could visit any of the thing. So how you really accommodate this change and even get the data. Okay, so not necessary, because there may be different branches who are carrying a trading activity which is not under cost audit purview. So you need not visit them. What is important that you visit the factories or location which are falling under cost audit purview, and you can, if there are say 20 or 50 locations, then you can decide a frequency that these 5 location I will visit every time, but other location I will visit periodically. I will visit 5 in this year, 5 in that another year, and again then I will have one more rule is that if there is significant capital addition has happened to a particular plant which I have not visited earlier, I must visit that.
Again judgment.
Again judgment, yes.
Judgment. My good friend Mr. G.L. Shankaran from Coimbatore asks you, data are hard to come by sheer reluctance to share with them. How do you overcome during the initial years?
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
Data is hard. Data are hard to come by. They are always reluctant to give data to you.
Yes.
To share with you. How
Yes.
did you overcome during the initial years? He is asking about you, your own case. How did you come out of that?
Okay. See, what I have done is basically it's a being the trainer and being in the my hobby is to teach. Okay, that has really helped in discussing with the client. I really try to make sure that they understand importance of cost audit. Yes, initially 1 year or initially 2 years the client is reluctant. It's a slow process of transformation. It doesn't happen. Even if I go and try to tell them, okay, they may not agree. So So it's a it's a continuous process that you have to undertake. And what I did was to, because of lack of adequate data, if there is going to be any impact on the quality of the report, I will highlight them and I will make sure that they understand that there is a significant amount of risk to them. So suppose if they report the product wise profitability wrongly, okay, and if there is some assessment, earlier there was a Fiat case for the excise where the cost auditor statement was taken and whatever he has written was taken as the final word. So I would tell them that, look, if you say that only compliance is part and if you submit a wrong information, then finally the board is going to adopt it. And finally the authorities are going to hold that information as the final word. So it is in your interest to give the right information, but it doesn't happen in the initial year. It may happen in the third year. That has been the yes, gradual.
Sir, one more cost account. You did not reveal his name. How to check Hsn Code? And construction company having crushing unit and construction services, both applicable for cost audit. He is asking you, or only construction services?
Sir, checking the Hsn code with the Gst environment is quite easy, because if you look at the GSTR1 return, in that there is a Hsn code wise summary with quantity and value that has to be uploaded every month for every registration. Okay, so your process of starting the identifying what is covered under cost audit and not has to start with the GSTR1 Hsn summary, because that is what the client has already printed on his invoice. That is what he has already submitted to the GST authorities. So it cannot go beyond that. So you have to do that.
The specific question is, a construction company having crushing unit as well as construction services. Both are there.
Yes.
Audit, what is the, for which only cost audit is applicable, for construction activity or crushing unit?
For construction.
Repeat, sir. A construction company is having crushing unit.
Yes.
They also got construction services.
Okay.
Both are applicable for cost audit or only construction services?
If you really look at the applicability of cost audit and the table B, then there is a infrastructure related project which is covered under the Companies Act, out of which only part A is covered. So what you have to evaluate whether the company's activities fall under that, under the infra, even if it is construction, it is related to certain aspect which is covered under the rule. So that you will have to evaluate, and then once you evaluate that, in the light of the table B, you have to ask them a question. What I do normally, before I start the audit, even if my client is old, okay, there is a master Excel file which I have. Okay, in the master Excel file, all the Hsn code and the services are listed along with its description. Okay, and along with its guidance as to what should be covered or not, and I request the technical team to run through that whether their activity is covered under that. Once they give me yes, no, then I carry out a further assessment for discussion with them as to what is covered and what is not covered. That is important. That assessment is very important and has to be done every year, because I have seen certain companies, okay, where they a particular activity is covered under cost audit, but they have reported not covered under cost audit, and then the MCA send the notice as to why it is not covered. So it is our role to have a master file. Okay, where I have a master file which lists all the Hsn code, all the services code, which I share as a first starting point with the client. I say that before I assess, you assess and tell me. And finally, you get a sign off from them as to this is covered under cost audit, this is not covered under cost audit.
Okay. Again, Akhilesh Butcher has come. As you said earlier about confidentiality of data, many auditees, particularly SMEs, MSMEs, and that too family-run organizations, submit data after making so many adjustments in quantitative data. Should the cost auditor expose the same in our report or not?
Actually, as a cost auditor, we should not accept to that, because the quantitative information, in my view, we should try to reconcile with the GSTR1 summary, and also the reconciled sales revenue with financial statement. If there are only any mismatches which we don't agree, I think we should not agree. And if the client still insists, we should qualify the report.
Okay. Now, one budding cost accountant by name Narayan Adhikar name, he says that, sir, how about diagnosing any upcoming industry, say electrical vehicles? Nowadays, we are fond of electrical vehicles, no? Automobile
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
He says how to diagnose the upcoming industry.
See, basically, when it is an upcoming industry or if it is a new venture, okay. If it is a new venture, what you have to do is that we cannot talk about their existing practices. Then what you have to do is basically we have to ask them as to what is your future vision for the cost management, how you are going to frame policies, how you are going to carry out training, how you are going to do benchmarking. For example, this electric vehicle, you have a benchmark of Tesla. Okay, so when you are setting up a company here, when you are saying that cost management, pricing, how you are benchmarking with them and how you are going to compete with them future and how you are going to base your cost management practices, and there you can help them in establishing those benchmarking practices and the cost management framework for them.
Okay. Now, one Karthikeyan from Tamil Nadu, if there is any change in Hsn Code between CRA 2 and CRA 4, how it can be mentioned?
If there is any change in the CRA 2, means when the appointment was made and when the final report is submitted, right? So what I say is that CRA 2 is a information that the cost audit is applicable, and based on the previous year, what are the Hsn code or CTA code, now we call as Custom Tariff Act, what are the CTA code that are covered in the cost audit. Now, when you make that assessment and when you file the CRA2, in my view, there are two objectives which are getting achieved. One is that there is a compliance from the company that the company has fulfilled its obligation of appointment of cost auditor. And secondly, based on the previous year record, these are the 4 or 5 CTA codes for which the cost audit is applicable. Now, when we come to CRA4, it is based on the actual data. The business may have changed, the company may have added or deleted certain CTA codes during the year. Now your cost audit report is based on the actual activity of that year. So it may happen that in the CRA2 you have mentioned 4 CTA code, but out of the 4, the company has not done any business out of that 1, and it has done business on 3 CTA code, but that company has added 2 more codes. So you have to report for the 5 codes. And there is no need and there is no validation today that when you are filing the CRA4 that it validate against CRA2. There is no validation. You, as a cost auditor, you have to make sure that you audit for the products which are covered under audit for that year.
Okay. Now, again, same Narayan Adhikari, he comes, sir, my clients think that they have chartered accountants to solve or manage the cost related issue. How we can tackle such situation?
This is a political question. Yeah.
Now a question to Mr. Varun Joshi. Is our Vice President is there? Varun Joshi?
No, sir, he's not
Varun
there.
Joshi, sir. A question to you now. He's not there?
No, sir, he's not there.
Okay. Now this question is related to me. Me means our council.
Yes.
CMA Santosh Sharma of Delhi is asking, members need ready-made full list of type of companies on which cost audit is applicable. When will institute publish it for the ease of doing cost audit? I think it's not easy to print a list like this, but if it's possible, we will definitely go for it.
Yes.
Sure. Secondly, and Vijay, even though a company hires cost auditor, still they try to hide cost detail. He says he's unhappy because he understands why it is so. So we can't do this. Now, again, question probable to the council only. Mr. Varun Joshi, shall we continue?
Yes,
Varun
please.
Joshi.
Yes, sir.
Joshi, sir. I have got 5 more questions, sir. Can we continue?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. CMA Suman Kumar, please do keep cost audit report format for all industries in our institute web to understand and estimate the depth of required analysis cost elements. I will discuss this with our council if possible. We don't mind doing this because it is a service for all of you. Now, again, Santosh Sharma Delhi comes. E-Form INC 22A is required to be filed pursuant to Section 12 of the Companies Act. What are details in INC 22A form? Company name, address, CA number, latitude, longitude, details of the register office address, email, enter OTP number, blah, 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 all those things. Now, details of cost accounting, if any, details of managing director, chief executive, full-time director, SR number. Why SRN of CRA 4 has not been taken here? Shall I again repeat?
Yes, yes.
Set up E-Form INC 2022A as per Company Act. They ask many things. I have just read all the things.
Yes.
In this forum, why SRN of CRA 4 has not been taken here?
So my logical answer, I may not know why the government has done that, but logical answer is that the cost audit related information is not supposed to be available in public domain. So that's why, yes.
Now, CMA Vinay Tandon asks, an auditee is in the business of manufacturing iron and steel products. Its style of working is materials supplied along with labor are provided to its clients to generate product. Only labor services provided to its clients, commonly known as job work as per company, as the material supplied to by other party. In such a situation, whether the company is covered by product-wise cost statement or service-wise cost statement.
See, basically, this is a job work type of industry, but the final product is sold by the his company. So he's invoicing the product as such and not services. So as such, he's a manufacturer and his products will be covered as the CTA code as may be applicable. Because as per the guidance not issued by the company, the job work activity is also considered to be manufacturing activity. It is only the processes are carried out at the job worker places rather than his manufacturing place. That's the only differentiation.
Now again, Mr. Vijay comes back. Can you please tell us the examples of cost management policy? Cost management policy.
The cost management policy, in my view, has to be company specific, and cost management policy has to be drafted for different aspects, considering how each element of cost is considered, what is the system that the company has, and how each transaction from the cost perspective is to be routed, who is to authorize that transaction, how the company take the decisions, who carry out the initial working, who reviews that. So all aspects of cost management and decision making should be part of the cost accounting policy. So if you have read the say quality manual or the production manual, you will see that each and every aspect is mentioned about the quality or the production process. Similarly, the cost management policy should start with the objective of the management of having a cost management policy. What kind of industry, a brief profile of the company, its the production processes, its different plants, how the transfer pricing mechanism across the plant works, how the MIS gets generated, how the variances are analyzed, how the pricing decisions are taken, how make-buy decision. So all this should be part of the cost management policy.
Last question, half of your namesake, CS Butt. He is asking you, does the scope of cost audit include management or performance audit?
Earlier, the 2011 cost audit rules were formulated with performance report of the cost auditor, which was subsequently removed in 2014 rules. So the performance evaluation, in my view, is the essential element of cost audit. Whether it is part of the report rules or not, what we have to do is that after you carry out your cost audit, you have to give them a report indicating what are your observations, okay, and what are the improvement areas and how you assess the performance of the company. So all this may not be part of your cost audit, but you give them direction, and that is something which add value to the client, because he gets ideas as an external expert perspective. So it should be part of it. It may not be part of your cost audit report. Out of that, you may take 1 or 2 points or 3.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, some net problem.
Hello.
He has joined back. He has joined back.
Please.
So I repeat again.
Yeah, please.
I repeat. So what I was saying, whether since the performance evaluation is not part of our statutory requirement because it was removed in 2014, we still need to give our evaluation of performance of the company on various cost related aspects. Some of them may be part of your CRA 3, where you say that observation of cost auditor, observation and suggestion of cost auditor. But the observation and suggestion of cost auditor should be subset of your more detailed analysis of the performance evaluation of the company.
Yeah, to supplement you, though it is not an assignment officially, but I know many cost accountants who are good friends of mine. They are doing cost audit plus, where they include performance audit report and management audit report to impress the management. It is not, though it is not part of cost audit, they go beyond cost audit, and they are giving good advice to the management, and both they are okay and company is okay.
Yes. No, I think, sir, that is required, because only that will give what I would say a better visibility to our profession, and that will also give what kind of contribution that you can make as CMS.
Yes, that's all, sir. Thank you from our dear speaker. You have spoken very well. You have clear. You have got 17 questions and 200 or 270 odd audiences. That speaks about volumes about your knowledge, your exposure, your experience in the field. Friends, before summing up, I just share 2 things to you. In a paper company audit, we have given our statements. We proved that hardcover preparation is losing activity compared to printing of the pages. They proved it. Similarly, in one hotel industry, big industry, I can't share the name, they could not even establish the cost between idli and sambar, though it is very easy because of ABC. But they found that what they thought is not profitable, what they thought is very losing action. Similarly, in hospital industry also we find quite interesting analysis. I cannot share the names of the concerns, but the results analysis made by the cost accounts are surprising to the management or the so-called owners. Friends, it's really a good, wonderful lecture by my beloved friend CMA CS speaker. He first statement he made is cost audit leads to national economy. It is not for making some money to our pocket, money to the proprietor or wonder. It is beyond these 2 things. It leads to national economy. It is an effective tool which reaches to national economy. Though he's not a doctorate, he did everything like a doctor. Doctorate as well as doctor. He started with hypothesis, problem statement, and clinical approach. Particularly all the 6 points: self-confidence, pathology test. We do pathology test. He called it clinical test. We identify the problems, then the solutions, then discuss with the management, guide them, monitor them, revisit if it warrants, otherwise review, revisit. Sir, according to me, the auditee has got 6 or 8 ailments like sickness, loss, sunk, inefficiency, low profitability, underutilization. For all these things, you have given as a solution. You have told that cost auditor should act as cost auditor, doctor, partner, catalyst, specialist, motivator, change agent, judge, value creator, and at the end of the day, an expert in the field of cost accountancy. You covered all these points very well, and with the help of mutual need, mutual trust, mindset, mutual understanding between client and you, auditee and auditor. No auditee likes auditor normally. Given chance, no auditee appreciates you. You should make them impress. Mutual understanding and mutual communication. Sir, according to me, numbers are they good? No. Numbers are they true? No. You have to analyze them. You have to analyze them properly with the cost technology, and you told that rightly relevant, reliable, and timely data. This is the most important. You say that cost is confidential. Those who treat it cost as confidential find that waste is consequential. See, they say that cost is confidential. Very good. But they realize that after 1 year, the entire thing is waste and it is consequential of their confidentiality. So one should not be maintain confidentiality with the auditor. You have given like ICQ, like LFR in bank audit, you have given all the 50 questions, which will not only in 10 compartments, you have given 10, 100%, 50%. And at the last, you have told that tolerance levels are not acceptable. We can't tolerate. It is not a any statistical tool to live like it is audit. Audit means all audit concept is audit beyond books of accounts. It is not merely confined to books. A big thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first thank my Vice President, sir, for his Vice President remarks. He has brought out very neatly, correctly the role of the cost accountancy in different industries. Similarly, my friend Chitu, who is a banker, has used all his banker expertise, being a man of advance, being a man of loans, being a sufferer of NPS, being a banker. He has told all his experience from bank how to eradicate control in the cost sheet of a bank. Similarly, my learned friend Abban, who is the creator of this, author of this particular program, has rightly emphasized the role of cost accountants. And I thank all my beloved cost accountants who have made it today, being working in the second Tuesday, 4 o'clock to 6, almost up to 7 or 6:30. You are very much stressed. A big thanks to all my beloved cost accountants. And I also thank the Department of CAT and AD, but for whose technical support today the program would not have been successful. So with all thanks to every one of you from my heart and soul, good night or good day.
And we on behalf of Association of Accounting Technician and Community for Accounting Technician, we thank Dr. Murthy sir for wonderfully summing up and giving thanks from the heart, and also raising the questions of all the important members who have keenly attended. And Chandrasekhar S. Advatkar sir, as is always, have done exceedingly well. So thank you, Dr. Murthy sir. And before we conclude, Chandrasekhar sir and Murthy sir, with your permission, I am requesting Chittoda to come live so that he will invite Murthy sir for our institute tomorrow's program. A very important webinar tomorrow. And also, Chittoda today, for everybody's information, Chandrasekhar S. Advatkar sir, today BFSI board has made Chittoda the chairman of MSME SME task force of our institute.
It's a pride moment for us. Congratulations.
And as per SAFA direction, on Sunday, we are going to have a SAFA program. Though I am the member of that SMP committee, Chittoda will be the coordinator, and Dr. Murthy sir will be the chairman, moderator for all the 4 technical sessions we are organizing. Chittoda, over to you. Kindly invite for tomorrow's our program. Over to you, Chittoda.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, Papan bhai. Actually, already we have really kept our all audience. Our Sri Chandrasekhar sir has kept everybody in the studio, not only studio but also outside the studio. Those who are attending, they have really been. I think I must say this is one of the programs. It will be kept in the memory of young cost accountants who are looking for entering into this cost audit domain area. And it is also fact that today's presentation was a out-of-box presentation. Whatever presentations I had in my previous past, this sort of template, through the template and through the assessment procedure, and how the ultimately a cost auditor will be earning the confidence of the board of directors, and how cost auditor can create value in the organization. Everything has been dealt. And one information I just want to tell to all the attendees who are here, that the activity-based cost accounting technique has been now in 2004, Professor Kaplan has advocated for time-driven activity-based costing. And there, every facets of the cost are to be assessed, are to be seen, and lot of valuable information you can gather from you can just go through the book on time-driven activity-based costing. And today's cost auditor's value will increase when the cost auditor's report will be utilized by the organizations, and organizations will feel that how this cost audit will be beneficial for them. Generally, nowadays, we are all speaking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant, and I understand it is a very prime time that we have come out with this concept of this creating right environment and framework on to conduct cost audit. My request to our esteemed speaker, whatever I started in my day's opening remarks, if you just go through that, you will find that cost auditor stakeholders should be enhanced. Stakeholder of the cost auditor, it doesn't enhance, it is not enhanced. The value of cost auditor will not be understood. One of the very important organizations, I have told you, and it has been understood by so many executives of the bank, they did not have any idea, but now we have to make it clear. And I request you, Mr. Chandrasekhar sir, kindly think on this score, that how you can help us to have one concrete document. That is, what are the information the cost audit report will be helpful to the banker for any credit appraisal of 100 crores, 200 crores, 300 crores. And that would be definitely, I am sure, one day will come that these presentations of yours will be more and more reaching to all the people. People will understand the value of cost audit. Cost audit is not compliance at all. It is not a compliance. People should not grant it as a compliance. It is a matter for the value creation of the organization, and that value creation is required to be done to other stakeholders. And we will be very happy, sir, if you can draft a letter on this concept, that how this create value. We shall be putting it to the IBA, and we shall be requesting all the bankers to utilize the cost auditor's report, so that they can include in the credit policy that whenever any project appraisal has to be made for these 39 industries as of today, they have to also scratch. They have also have to apprise the project with the help of the cost auditor's report, as is being done only for the financial auditing report. That means more due diligence will be done, and that due diligence will help us to have a robust credit management process where NPA generation will also be less. And I'm sure that our already lot many is coming in under the bucket of our profession, and it will be added to another in our bucket. So I'm grateful to H. Padmanabhan, and it was rightly dedicated program by Dr. Murthy, and I'm sure in future also we'll be listening from you in this particular fashion. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Sir,
Thank
please invite for tomorrow's program and that Sunday, please.
Yeah,
please
yeah.
Announce.
Tomorrow there will be actually, if you can please tell, that will be better. Now tomorrow we have got one webinar from our tax research department. Webinar. But on Sunday we have got a international event, that is MSME International Day, and that would be, I would request everybody to be there and to enjoy, because very erudite speakers will be there, and they will exchange their views. And not only that, CMA entrepreneurs will be there, MSME entrepreneurs, they will be also telling about their experience, how the CMA profession has helped them to be a successful entrepreneur. So let us join all together. That's thank you.
Thank you so much, Itoda. Thank you, Dr. Murthy sir, Chandrasekhar Sadwadkar sir, my dearest friend, and thanks to Varun Joshi bhai and Somalika madam for joining us. And I request Somalika Madam or Varun Joshi sir to kindly play the Institute anthem. And Chandrasekhar, yes, Advatkar sir, you have to join us for future some programs like this because Chittoda and Murthy sir are our board of directors of Association of Accounting Technicians. We want to do so many programs, sir. Please, this is our request.
Available anytime. Sir, I will be available
Yes,
anytime.
let us join. Thank you, sir. Okay, now we will have Institute anthem, sir. Please, Murthy sir, please you can instruct Varun Bhai. Murthy sir.
असतोमा सद्गमय तमसोमा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय मा सद्गमय तमसोमा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
Thank you very much once again to each and every one of you. Chandrasekhar Advatkar sir, thank you very much. And
Thank you, sir.
I request everybody to stay safe, follow the protocols, and please stay safe and stay blessed. Thank you very much.
Thank
On
you.
behalf of Murthy sir, Dr. Murthy sir, Chitoda, Varun Joshi Bhai, Somalika Madam, Visrup Dada and Raju Ayer sir, we thank you, Chandrasekhar S. Advatkar sir, once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.